Hello and welcome to another episode of Mindful Conversation series in my podcast, The Anuj Kapoor Talk Show. I'm your host Anuj, and in this episode today we have with us Ananya Naithani. Ananya is someone who also writes on others' behalf on LinkedIn. This is called ghostwriting. He pens for CXOs, founders, and investors in the consumer tech space. He started his journey working with an investment bank and then early stage startups. In between this, he was into stand-up comedy for a year where he had his first interaction with writing while he is doing full-time now. Let's find out more from Ananya, and the episode begins. So, hello Ananya, thank you so much for joining me to this week episode of Mindful Conversation series in my podcast. It's really a pleasure to have you in this episode today.
Hey Anuj, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure being here, and we've been chatting for a while on LinkedIn, so great catching up with you here. Yeah,
Yeah, right. So, finally we are going ahead with this podcast. I know we had been there had been a couple of delays due to festival and stuff. So, but yes, it's glad that we are now at it. Yeah. So,
likewise, likewise.
okay. So, having get started, so tell us a little about your journey. How did you get started in the world of writing, or when you say ghost writing, basically? Obviously, I would like to know about it, and what attracted you to this particular field.
Sure, Anuj. So, I would like to firstly start off a little with my background. So, Anuj, I'm an army brat, so I grew up in different parts of the country.
Okay.
So, I've grown up in various army cantonments in the country. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
spent my final years of schooling, for example, in Andamans, Port Blair. I've spent some amount of my schooling in Gangtok, Sikkim. So, I've had the privilege of interacting with people who come from various parts of the country who have different cultures. So I was always very inquisitive as I got to learn from them. And after my college, I was with an investment bank, BNY Mellon, but I always liked writing. And this would even my friends would say because I would write uh, long texts many times if I am feeling heartfelt about something. And I never, to be honest, thought that I would do anything even remotely connected to writing. I always thought I'll be in some very traditional job, like maybe in the army or, for example, this investment bank, BNY Mellon. And for in BNY, I was working for 5 years, but then parallelly, lockdown got, we faced the global pandemic, unfortunately, and we were all stuck at our homes. And before the lockdown, I used to go for long distance running. I've done a couple of half marathons. But
Okay.
parallelly, what happened because we were all stuck at our homes, everyone was doing some side hustle. You might have seen many people were, getting, there were trends of like Dalgona coffee and all of that. Many people were trying some
Right.
side hustles as well. So I was not no different. I always liked stand-up comedy, so I uh, checked out what basically happens in this particular space. I attended some shows, realized that uh, everything basically is written material. Everything is written. So I tried my
Right.
hand in that. That was my first tryout, my first experience with writing. And I loved it. I did it for 7, 8 months. I even managed a comedy club. Then I went into
Okay.
startups. Then at a point, I was feeling that, hey, I need to start something of my own. Then I thought, hey, what is the most fun thing which I like doing, and does it have a use case, where people will pay me money? And if you look at traditional
Hmm.
writing, making
Hmm.
money from writing traditionally, it's not very easy
Hmm.
or not very lucrative,
Right.
because
Okay.
there is no direct linkage with how you can generate money. But then I came to know about
Hmm.
ghostwriting. Now, ghostwriting is of different forms, but of
Hmm.
what I do, Anuj, is I
Hmm.
write for business leaders, I write for
Okay.
investors. They
Okay.
have knowledge, they have the industry expertise. They might have different intent. For example, if someone has just got a round of funding closed, they want to spread a word, they want to make their brand more visible.
Hmm.
At that particular case, I write on their behalf. Now, these are also individuals who have good insights, they have value, but they don't have the time to write. So
Right.
ghostwriting basically means
Hmm.
I'm writing on behalf of them without
Hmm.
taking any credit. So
Right.
basically,
Okay.
if I'm writing, if you're an industry leader, I'm writing on your behalf. You can say
Hmm.
that, hey, this is your particular piece, but again, I just get the commercials. So this is how
Right.
generally it works. And my end goal, I think, in the long run, I love to write stories. I would
Hmm.
like to do that, like most writers,
Hmm.
but because I also felt that if from day one, or if from the first quarter you can have some um, revenue stream from writing, nothing better than that. So
Hmm.
yes, that's why ghostwriting, Anuj.
Hmm. So you mentioned ghostwriting. So another question I want to ask you is that obviously in our life as a content writer, they as long as we are getting paid, it hardly matters basically. But
Mm-hmm.
do you love that? I mean, the kind of job that you're doing, or somewhere at point of time, do you feel that there needs to be some kind of a recognition? Basically, what you have written, obviously, there's something it should be in the back of your mind that
Mm-hmm.
the piece you have written, it's not
Mm-hmm.
coming from you, but it's coming from another name. Obviously, as long
Mm-hmm.
as you are getting paid for it, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there is a kind of a
Mm-hmm.
personal branding stuff as well.
Of
So,
course.
do you have that personal satisfaction?
Uh, so I think, Anuj, I like to answer it in two frame in two. I think I would like to address it line by line in two ways.
Right.
Firstly, when you mentioned like writing basically is there is a joy in writing. If anyone writes,
Hmm.
for example, if a person is a content writer, or if they're addressing in any
Right.
writing format, there is one particular dopamine hit which that individual gets after finishing
Right.
that piece, or when they are seeing
True.
that, hey, you did a very good job, or if a client is very happy. Or I think one of the best things I saw, and which I see and with many others, is that they love writing and they also get paid too, right? And I feel
Right.
it's a such a joy. So I feel very privileged, firstly, when I think about that. And second thing is, when you talk about the personal branding, and so I think that is something which I also want in the long term. But I feel as of now, I don't have that distribution with me, that hey, if I'm writing something of my own, people
Right.
will buy, like a Chetan Bhagat,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
or any particular individual who has made their mark in the market. And that comes with time. That doesn't happen overnight. And that also doesn't happen with everyone. So we have to be a little respectful and realistic with that particular fact. I take great joy when I get to see that, hey, I earn by writing, which I think 2 years back
Right.
I it did not even remotely think. So I feel very privileged in that fashion. So I'm that particular thought that, hey, I'm writing on someone else's behalf and my name is not coming in. That, to be honest, like, I understand from where that thought comes from, but it doesn't impact me as of now.
Impacting.
Now, coming to the writing on other people's behalf. So Anuj, I've had a journey wherein I was doing a full 9 to 5 job. Then I was working, then I did stand up when I got to know that, hey, writing is something which I'm really interested in and I enjoy that process. Then I was working with startups. So the individuals I'm working currently ghostwriting, And even in startups, I used to really have fun. If I am writing on behalf of some individual, a founder or an investor, they are from a startup, and their insights actually excite me a lot. So getting to pen that, getting to put that out in a format, and from raw insights, because in ghostwriting, their insights are all theirs. I'm just a
Right.
medium. I'm just renting. You can think of it like just renting your pen out, right? So all their insights are there. I am using my own frameworks to ensure that that particular piece is coming out. So I find that and their insights also very intriguing, because in ghostwriting, not only you get to put out content, but
Right.
you get to put out insights from someone else, and you also get to learn. So there are many industry trends which I have come to know aware, because I'm also getting educated by my clients who are the
Right.
founders or the investors. So yes, I think this is something which excites me as of now, but the personal branding part, I think it might hit me at a point, but as of now,
Right.
it doesn't bother me, to be honest.
Okay, that's good. So, but yeah, that's really great to know. But do you also feel challenged because being a ghostwriter and writing from a perspective of someone else, I mean, someone else providing you the insight, it's really a very challenging job, because in a way you are like the face of that person, and if anything goes wrong, then that
Mhm.
person's image, that person's what do you call, their professional image, it's shattered, and that brings to you as well somewhere. Do you feel
Mhm.
that kind of pressure on you, or any such challenge?
Mm, Good question, Anuj. I think firstly, like there are frameworks set up. So things like, so again, there are chances of things might getting impacted because of the piece, but there are many checks and balances in place, which ensures that this doesn't happen. So whenever we start writing, any ghostwriter starts writing for someone, it can be in any different writing formats.
Right.
One of the best practices which I would say is checking out what content pieces have they written in the past. So Anuj, there might be a writing format which you follow. There would be a tonality which you follow. There are certain words which you follow.
Okay.
There's an overall structure which you generally follow.
Okay.
And if I'm ghostwriting on your behalf, for example, I have to ensure that I am operating within that structure, within that framework, with that tonality. I will have a writing format which I feel very comfortable in. But if I'm writing on behalf of you, either the piece has to be so great that you are in complete awe and you say, hey man, this looks perfect. And at that particular point, maybe the tonality, the structures, they all can override. You feel so excited by it that you don't think much about it. Either that case is there, or the second case, which I like to operate on, is I prefer to have everything from your side of the past materials which you have written, how you talk. For example, if we are talking right now, there's a way you're talking to me, there's a way I'm talking to you. Writing generally is like how you talk, how you should also be writing it ideally like that. And there are some ways how clients prefer to be how they are and how they wish to be projected. So also have to keep a balance of how they wish to come out. Some people just, for example, some people wish to share their insights, but some people just want to talk about trends, what happening. For example, IPO happened recently. Some founders, investors are doing so great, but they just wish to talk as a commentator about their take. So have to see that if there is some individual who's very research centric, we have to keep the content, specific to that. If some individual wants to be as a act as a market commentator
Okay.
with their very unique insights, we are okay with that as well. So my job here is to ensure, firstly, what sort of person they are, how they wish to be projected. And it also never is like that they give me insights and I just write and it just gets published. So firstly, they give me insights. I ask them questions. I have a framework of my own, how I wish to ask them questions and how I would like the story to flow. though I let them
Hmm.
free flow in their story and record
Okay.
those sessions. Later on, I also share some pieces with them, a piece or two of like how that piece would look. Then they give me an input that, hey, yeah, this is looking great, this is not looking great. Either if there is
Hmm.
this entire thing is perfect. So once I have a
Hmm.
green from them, then that thing goes with their team and then that thing
Hmm.
gets published on their platform. So this is
Hmm.
how it goes. Overall, there are so many checks and balances in place that
Right.
chances of us impacting their brand is very
Hmm.
minimal. That only will happen if and I feel that this only will happen if there is a
Hmm.
topic which we are writing which is very sensitive.
Okay.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
Okay. So I also heard that you said a couple of times that you did stand-up comedy as well. So could you tell us how was that experience, and did it help you anyways in your journey being a writer? And are you still doing it? I mean, did you love doing it, stand-up comedy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yes, Anuj, I'll address this. So, firstly, like I enjoyed the experience, and I started watching stand-up comedy when I used to go to my office in Pune, BNY. So there used to be office
Hmm.
cab which used to come in every day, right,
Hmm.
5 days a week.
Hmm.
And during the commute to office, I would just watch some videos. Some days I would read in shorts. Some days I would watch these videos, and I always thought they what how did these guys perform it? So
Hmm.
after the lockdown, there were many online shows which were happening. So I attended one of Karunesh Talwar. It was a trial show. Trial show is something wherein a comic is trying
Okay.
his new jokes. He's basically getting a set in place of like 1 hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Hmm.
So the comic is basically putting up a show. Ticket price generally is less. If, for example, a
Okay.
comic is selling out 7.99 pay tickets, he's getting it out of his final show. This show ideally will be 3.99, 4.99 because he's also trying. So I attended
Hmm.
that. It showed me that, hey man, this is they're basically building their sets. Second is I attended a show of Atul Khatri,
Okay.
Gaurav Kapoor.
Gaurav Kapoor.
So
Hmm.
it made me realize that at the end of the day, these guys are writing. And
Hmm.
after I think attending 2, 3 shows, I wrote a 5 minute bit of my own.
Hmm.
I was up an entire night and I was just writing that one particular bit. And then I got to know about these places called open mics. So open mics are
Okay.
these physical places wherein you can go and
Hmm.
try your new material. Many people do poetry open mics, many people do stand-up open mics. There are many music open mics as well. So I tried in one my first five in a online open mic because it was a lockdown. The first 5 minutes, it went really well. The response was really great, and I thought, wow, man, I'm a natural. But then I went to the second open mic with the same material. It was no one even smiled. And then I also realized, then I did it third time, fourth time, fifth time, same response. And I was a little surprised that, hey, first time, what exactly happened and why is it being so flat? Then I realized that every time you're going on an open mic is a place wherein you test your material, but every time you're coming on the stage, you are supposed to edit some parts of your material. So whenever you're going on stage, you will also feel some excitement that, hey, you're telling your brain that, hey, there is something new which I've written, and I would like to test that thing. And there is not only just my focus that particular time was only writing. And it is
Okay.
not, stand up is not just writing, it is also about a lot about performance. So
Hmm.
I also work with many writers. I have many peers who are writers, ghostwriters. So they do a very commendable job, but based on their personality and based on my personality also, I'm not very stage refined if I look at the performance part. If I look at us and them, I know that on stage we guys will struggle because uh, intrinsically we are all writers, we are not performers. So stand-up comedy is a lot about writing, but then there is a performance aspect as well. So during my period in the stand-up comedy scene, I worked on my performance bit. I improved, of course. but again, I used to like the writing part more.
Okay.
So I was doing this online for a time. Then I went back to my hometown of Dehradun.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to a comedy club there, and this comedy
Okay.
club was run by some individuals who were in college that time or just passed out of college. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have worked for some particular duration in your life, you
Right.
always see
Okay.
things in structures, right?
Hmm.
So I asked them if I can help in them some capacity. So I started managing
Hmm.
comedy club for them on their behalf.
Hmm.
We also did couple of shows, and I used to enjoy managing the comedy club as well. So we did a couple of
Hmm.
shows in the city, in Dehradun. We
Hmm.
also, I could see there were a lot of problems, like if a comic is coming on stage for the first time, they would not come it'd be very rare that they will be coming back soon. It will take a
Okay.
while. So there was also a thing of motivating the comics as well
Okay.
as motivating the audience. So this was a common practice by us that if any comedian is coming, we will also chat with them, get to know a little about them, what they're doing in general, a quick 5 minute chat. Also
Hmm.
see that, also give them a little feedback. If they are excited, nervous, or they're shattered by how the piece went, we would chat lot about them. And this personalization or trying to
Hmm.
make being a little um, trying to make them feel home, that is
Right.
something which we saw that people did come back. And it wasn't
Hmm.
just the comics, it was also the audience members. So I had a good
Hmm.
time, fun, my 8-12 months doing comedy and managing a open mic, managing a comedy club. But at the
Hmm.
same time, Anuj, later on I joined a
Hmm.
startup. And in
Okay.
startups, there is Monday, Sunday, everything is equivalent.
Ah.
So, so, so,
Hmm.
so that's why I
Right.
could not go back.
Right.
I think in the initial part of this year, I tried doing comedy again for 2 months,
Okay.
but then because this is a new setup, so I did not get the
Ah.
time. So then
Hmm.
I discontinued it, though I do visit open mics at times. I'm generally
Acha.
standing there trying to see that what structures these people are using, what they're
Hmm.
trying something new. From a writer's perspective, I try to gauge them. But
Hmm.
uh, but again, I think I would love to go to open mics again, but the schedule these days is such it is not allowing me any time.
Hmm.
So
True. True.
yep, yep,
But
yep.
given a chance, given an opportunity, do you
Hmm.
want to go back, or maybe not an open mic, but
Hmm.
I see that there are a lot of stand-up comedies happening these days. Every day, I
Hmm.
think there is some person coming out as a being a stand-up comic, and
Hmm.
I see a lot of videos on stand-up comedy, and then there are so many not just open mic, but there are other places as well. In Gurgaon, there are many events happening in stand-up comedy. I see that
Hmm.
Ashish Vidyarthi, he's also
Hmm.
jumped into this field now. So
Hmm.
at some point in time, do you want to really go back and maybe do it full fledged, or take up as a maybe as a profession itself? Uh,
Mm. Anuj, to be honest, like I believe, I believe a little bit in that thing that if you're having fun doing something, just immerse yourself
right.
in that. So I was
Hmm.
having fun in stand-up comedy, but then that before
Hmm.
comedy, I never thought that
Right.
your work could be fun. You could enjoy what you do.
Ah.
So what I was doing in
Hmm.
BNY, in my first company, I was decent at what I was doing, and
Hmm.
I also learned a lot. But I never knew the feeling of work could be fun. So after stand-up
Hmm.
comedy happened, I thought of just moving to a job where I'm
Hmm.
having fun, and that's why startups
Okay.
happened. Now it's a different thing that they take up so much time of yours that you're
Ah,
barely able
right,
to
right, right.
do
Exactly.
anything
True.
else. But at the same time, I was having fun. So I don't many times like in between, I did have uh, you know I was hit by this fact that hey, wish I used to do it, wish I
Ah.
did it parallelly along with startups.
Hmm.
But now that feeling doesn't exist because I learned during my
True.
experience. Similar thing is now as well. Like, to be honest, I am currently struggling with uh, structuring my day, because there is a
Okay.
lot of new work coming in. There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
to and fro's which happen with the clients, which clients.
Mm-hmm.
There are many end moment deadlines as well. There are many times
Mm-hmm.
revamps. So due to that, I'm not exactly getting time, but I'm having fun as of now. So do I miss
Mm-hmm.
stand up and do I respect the art form? Absolutely. But would I want to trade off what I have currently for something which can be there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so right now. In the
Right.
long term,
Right.
definitely, because I'm also at the teething, I'm
Mm.
at the very early stage of setting up my writing business, right? So
Right.
I will have to give it
Exactly.
like 2, 3 years. And I hope to have a agency set up with me. And my end goal also
Mm.
is to tell stories. So through stand up,
Mm.
many people love telling jokes, but
Ha.
I always had fun telling stories. And
Mm.
there is a newsletter which I publish every Sunday, which is called the Yawning Buddha's Bulletin. It is on my
Okay.
LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
I end up penning some stories every week there. So their
Okay.
outlet ki yaar, I'm not able to pen stories. That is not there.
Hmm.
And there have been cases where my existing clients have commended me on that piece. I prefer not to tell them about that particular
Hmm.
side, what I write, because what I
Hmm.
do for them is very different. If I'm bombarding a client or a
Right.
prospect with 10 different writing formats, I'm basically
Hmm.
confusing them because any prospect should not be put at a place wherein they get to choose that what you would be able to do for them. Ideally, we should be at a place that we should be able to tell them that, hey, this is something what I do. I've analyzed your business. I feel this is something which I can offer. So with anyone new, I prefer not to do this. But there have been
Hmm.
clients who have commended me for my pieces there. So that
Hmm.
is a silver lining. There are some subscribers who have reached out
Hmm.
saying that they like the story, they like the piece overall.
Hmm.
And my end goal also is to be a writer who writes stories. I think this is the
Okay.
case with most writers. So I
Right.
would like to do that. But
Hmm.
as of now, I think ghostwriting is paying my bill, so I'm happy with that.
Hmm. Right. Right. Right.
Yep, yep, yep.
Hmm. True. True. Yeah, but as they say, as long as you are enjoying what you're doing, this it has to be that way,
Absolutely.
because there has to be some one line basically uh, between a profession and between something which you like doing. But for example, I like doing podcasting, but it's not paying my bills.
Hmm.
So, but
Of course.
that being said, it really gives me that kind of charm to talk to people to so I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the process. So as long as I'm enjoying the
Hmm.
process, it's good, and that's why
Yep.
I'm continuing to do it basically. So as long as you are doing you continue to do that, it's really fine. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
True.
Nothing matters more than what you are enjoying, and if it is able
Exactly.
to, pay bills. I think that
Right.
also, Anu, just to add to this, I think there are
Hmm.
so many. If a person is
Hmm.
just inquisitive, there are so many things which you can do in the world. You
Right.
can't do everything, and there
True.
is a guilt trip which happens. You feel guilty.
Yes. Hmm.
You see people who are doing so great in that particular field, but you
Okay.
feel because you're not able to give time, you feel bad. But I
True.
think this is okay because if that
Ah.
particular person is doing good work in that
Hmm.
particular field, they're having recognition, they ensure that they're giving up that much of time there.
Hmm.
As opposed to it, if I'm
Hmm.
not getting that sort of success in that particular field, it is okay because I did not give it my 100% in that particular field. I
Hmm.
had my energy spread out, or I thought of going to another particular route, right? And there is
Hmm.
one great example which I just quickly wanted to tell you. In 2020, 2021, I think you might be aware of who Munawar Faruqi is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So this was during the online open mics, and
Acha.
he used to be, I think, 12K, 15K on Instagram that particular time. So
Acha.
this is 4 5 years back, and we used to come on open mics. There have been mics where I have performed in the same lineup. He used to be great back then, but there was one particular mic which I remembered, wherein the applause which I got was uh, a little better than what he got, and I take even now I think I get happy when I think about it. But if I compare it and if I look at it logically, there were some incidents which happened in his life, which some controversies which was in, but he basically just went all in comedy. So many people say that he has got his name and fame and money all because of being controversial. It might be true, it might be partially true, but I think that individual was just into comedy. He was doing many different things and he was very deep down into comedy. So I think what he has received is also a factor of how much effort he decided to put in. And had I done the same, maybe I would have been at least 1/10 in on the commercial space where he is. But I decided to not go there. I ventured into startup, and many people do this thing only, that they do not end up venturing deep into a space, which is also okay. So I think till the time you're enjoying it, and
Right.
Munawar enjoys what he does. So I think that's why he is where he is.
Right. True. Exactly. So, Danya, I think in the very beginning, you told that you are from army background.
Yep.
So, tell us a little bit about that experience and what are the three things that you learn from that? Because I believe being in army, what I could see is that discipline and dedication are the two things that really we can watch out for, and that is the case for being a content writer or maybe any writer as well. Discipline and dedication,
Mm-hmm.
that is obviously the case. So
Mm-hmm.
was that the case for you, or what if are there any other three things that you learned being in an army?
Uh, uh, Firstly, Anuj, there is one small correction which I would like to offer here. The thing is, if you are growing up with parents, you will remain kids are kids, irrespective of the background they grow up in.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
many friends from a civilian background, they used to ask me, ki, yaar, you are from an army background. Your father must be waking you up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. So it depends on your parents also. Like some of
Okay.
my friends, their parents, they used to wake them up at 5 6 in the morning. I think even my father has done that. And if we would be up after 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock on a particular date, we would also get a scolding. And because they are, but at the same time, because they are so disciplined themselves, they have such a disciplined life. I think that rubs on you. And because I think one of the things which I've learned from after staying in camps and having a family who's been in the army, that these people are very driven about their particular causes. So if they decide to go into something, they completely go into it. They might have second doubts. So this is one particular thing I would say which I have learned from my father and even from people around, that if they decide on something, they'll deep dive into it. They won't be second guessing themselves. Discipline is something which I've also learned, from my family. But again, it's not that if you're from an army background, you will be disciplined, because I have friends who are very ill-disciplined. And their families, because
Right.
kids are kids, right? It
Right.
doesn't matter
Exactly.
what the background you are
True. True.
from.
True. Yes.
But I think the another aspect of what army has to offer for the families of people who are serving is the amenities and the kind of exposure. So I'll give you an example. There are many amenities inside cantonments that, for example, I learned horse riding when I was in college in an army cantonment in Jaipur. If and it was at a very basic sort of cost. It is not even, I think, remotely inflated if I compare it with any civilian establishments which offer, it was at a very recently I went to an army cantonment with a family friend. I did river rafting there. I enjoyed the
Okay.
experience. So, and if you're staying in cantonments, what you end up seeing is, because sports is such a big part of the
Hmm.
army, because the troops and the officers, they are always into sports. So sports is something which is really pushed, and there
Hmm.
are the entire cantonment also has many amenities which ensure that you are pushed in sports. And if a person is a sportsman, what I've seen is they are not lazy in general. That
Hmm.
laziness factor gets you removed.
Right.
And though I consider myself lazy,
Hmm.
but I think that laziness part has been a lot sidelined because
Hmm.
of the way and the people I grew around. The third thing,
Hmm.
I think this was the second point which I wanted to highlight. The third part is, Anuj, for example, everyone starts working after graduation these days, and
Hmm.
after that, if a person is working in MNC, they might be, for example,
Hmm.
living in a particular part of the country wherein people around them culturally are the same. This happens with, I
Hmm.
think, 70 to 80% people. For
Hmm.
example, if a person is based in the Northeast, they have individuals who are just from the Northeast. So is their world, right?
Hmm.
But if that
Hmm.
same individual from the Northeast goes to Delhi, they start working in an
Hmm.
MNC, there is a cultural shock, because people come
Hmm.
from a different part of the country, from the country, they start to learn.
Hmm.
But if a person is in the army, or if a person has grown in the cantonments, you get to see this as a child, because there would be times when I have gone to a very good friend's place who is a Muslim. We used to go to their place for Eid. We used
Hmm.
to have sweets and
Hmm.
everything. In our particular, in if I am a Hindu, they would come to my place over for
Hmm.
Diwali, Holi, and
Hmm.
these guys and and we would be very excited about festivals in general. So there would be a great camaraderie. At the same time,
Hmm.
uh, getting to know about
Diversity. Hmm.
diversity and
Hmm.
a broader culture as you grow up. I think it's a privilege in itself. So
Hmm.
I think because if a person, it is something like if a person starts investing in mutual funds
Hmm.
at the age of 30, and if a person is doing it from
Hmm.
an age of 18, there is a difference
Hmm.
in the amount of returns which you might have at the age of
Hmm.
60, right? So I
Right.
think this is a similar case, yes.
Hmm. True. 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 So now the biggest question that I think it's really booming these days is, and AI, basically AI
Mm-hmm.
and Chat GPT. So
Mm-hmm.
does that really affect you as being a ghostwriter, being a content writer? Does that really affect you uh, to use AI or
Mm-hmm.
Chat GPT, basically, or maybe not even using it? Maybe uh, is that have does that have any impact, basically? And how do you see the role of ghostwriters, or maybe any
Mm-hmm.
even a writer will involve?
Mm-hmm.
It has obviously
Mm-hmm.
evolved but now, but
Mm-hmm.
what future do you see with this
Mm-hmm.
AI thing really booming? And I can see there are a lot of companies also now building their own chat GPT system itself within
Mm-hmm.
the organizations. They are like developing their own chat GPT. So what
Mm-hmm.
impact do you see? Yeah.
So Anuj, I generally view technology in a aspect that if I'm having a core skill, like firstly, if you are in a creative space, having a core skill it is very essential. Okay, so there are no two bones about it. You have to ensure that day in and out you are working on it, and you are working in a raw fashion, that you're not using AI or other things to refine. You have to go a little raw. So that is something which I do. I also use AI after it, but I ensure every day I basically work on that particular muscle. So my output quality becomes better. I
Right.
become better. My writing becomes better, and because if you're into writing, you also end up using your thoughts a lot. So
Right.
I end up being very raw with writing every day. But at the same time, when you're talking about AI, so
Mm-hmm.
I think technology should always be seen as for example, if there was a time when calculators weren't there, and
Right.
I would not like to quote the article because I'm not very sure when the exact one here,
Hmm.
but one article which I was reading a couple of months back, it mentioned that when calculators were introduced, teachers went on a strike, and they said that well, they had their reasons, right?
Hmm.
But did it ensure that people are don't know how to do maths or how to do calculations? It did not. But what the calculator ensured that you're able to do calculations fast. Similar thing is with writing itself. Even if I'm talking about normal writing, if I'm not even going to the professional side of things, a person should know how to write. If you're able to leverage AI, it will fast track your output. It will ensure that your output is more structured, your output is looks better on paper. It will ensure your ideas which are coming out, they look better. But the core skill of writing you should have. It again, I would just like to say, perceive this in a fashion that we should be looking at like you should knowing how to do maths, you should be very good at it, but at the same time, if you should be using the calculator. So I also use AI. It's not that I don't use AI. And my perception on this particular topic is people who think even now that they would just like to write and they would not like to leverage AI, if they are professionals in the field of writing, I think they are doing a disservice to themselves because writing fast tracks things. Sorry, my bad. Using AI fast tracks things. If you're working
Right.
with clients, with multiple clients, I'm not saying that use AI to write every word, but at least use it to ideate it. Ideate.
Right.
What sort of frameworks would you like to, use for your client? What because many times clients also ask us that, hey, what sort of I would like to see different approaches how you're able to write this format. So you can even use you can build some prompts for yourself that what are the regular things which you are able to which on a daily basis which you are supposed to go to GPT or other platforms to research or use. So I also have a set of prompts. And again, I think the most professions I interact with my peers, everyone is using AI because that just fast tracks things. But at the same time, I think even in comedy, there is a term which is called a purist. Being a purist means you are thinking, you look at your art form in a from a place that, hey, if someone is getting some external component, or if, for example, many comics say that crowd work is bad because it does not involve writing jokes. But if a crowd is, but at the end of the day, we were there at to serve the crowd, right? We weren't there for just boosting our own ego. So
Correct.
similar cases here, we are here to serve our clients, we are here to serve their audiences. So we can't, if for example you're writing does not involve working with clients, you can afford to be a purist, wherein you are thinking from this particular POV. But if a person is serving clients, I would say leveraging AI is needed because if you're not doing that, uh, many businesses, for example, are have let off people. There is a leading startup in finance recently. I would
Acha.
not like to name it. They let go of their a good chunk of their marketing team because they realized many individuals they weren't upskilled and they wanted a particular set of people. So they were profitable, they are profitable, but they removed that chunk of people who would not want to get upskilled or they were very raw with their output quality. in place of that, I think in the and I have I have some people in the company there. I have been told that
Hmm.
these individuals are now planning to reinvest that amount in that team with individuals who are great at leveraging AI. So
Hmm.
it is, and there have been endless cases like these in the market recently, which is a cue for us
Hmm.
that, hey, either if you are still against AI, which was
Right.
when 2022 ending ChatGPT launched, many people were against it. But
True.
even now, after more than almost 2 years, if we are still against it, I think we need to check it. Otherwise, it will impact our output, our livelihood. So I am a firm believer that people like you should work on your core skill because that is
Right.
something which differentiates you.
Hmm.
Because if you're
True.
not working on your core skill, then any Tom, Dick, Harry can come and replace
Right.
you.
Replace you.
But at the same time, you should be able to leverage AI, especially if you're
Hmm.
working with multiple clients, multiple stakeholders. So I'm a
Exactly.
pro AI, Anuj. Yeah.
Hmm.
And,
True. True.
and at
Yep.
the same time, I don't think there is any like if you are keeping yourself updated with the market, how you are supposed to, I would say, about the trends, how things are shifting. I don't think you need to worry much about losing your livelihood.
Hmm.
Uh, but the people who have been rating their jobs like sarkari naukriyan like India,
Hmm.
they need to be a little worried. Yeah,
Right.
they need to be a
Hmm.
little worried. But I think other people who are updated, I don't think they have
They
anything to
have
be
to be worried.
concerned of.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. True. So, how do you keep yourself motivated and creative while you are working on multiple projects with where you have some really tight
Mhm.
deadlines? So, how do
Mhm.
you keep yourself motivated while you're working and while you're writing ghost articles or maybe doing
Mhm.
any form of content writing, doing
Mhm.
multiple things at the same time? And is there any so how do you keep that balance in your work and your personal life? Do you manage that? Yep.
Mhm. So, Anuj, because this is, I am at a very initial phase.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there should be boundaries between personal and professional.
Hmm.
But as of now, the boundaries are not there. If I'll be totally honest.
True. Okay.
But there are some days like, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if this particular weekend, I'm working this particular weekend.
Acha.
But if I compare last weekend, I wasn't working. I wasn't even working
Okay.
Monday. But
Okay.
how I like to plan my work. So if I have some clients and I have some monthly deliverables for them,
Hmm.
I prefer to be aligned on them that what particular time are they expecting the monthly deliverables to be available to them. And would they want everything with them in one go, or would they
Hmm.
like to work in a collaborative fashion? I
Okay.
prefer working with in a collaborating fashion.
Hmm.
Secondly, is I like to be hyper communicator. I think
Okay.
if you wish to have like great personal relationships or
Hmm.
professional relationships, it's better to be hyper communicative
Hmm.
rather than being very minimalistic, right? So
Hmm.
that is something which generally helps with me with my clients.
Hmm.
I think, and again, there have been some people who have been working for some time now. So I
Hmm.
know, if, for example, I'll give you a real use case. So in last month, I onboarded two clients.
Hmm.
So with both of them are founders. So they have even now I am struggling a little bit because it is a little too early to understand what they want. So though I've written some pieces
Hmm.
on their behalf, but at the
Okay.
same time, there is a lot which goes in a person's mind, right?
Right. Okay.
So I'm also building an ideal customer profile for them. So
Hmm.
any client I work with, I build up an ideal customer profile for them, like
Hmm.
what sort of tonality they wish to have, what sort of words they want to use. Are they
Hmm.
very research oriented? Do they like talking about trends? Things like that.
Hmm.
So I have developed, so if I'm working for them, and if there is new client on board on one particular month, that month generally is a little hectic because I have to work with my old clients as well. I have to deliver for these new clients. So last
Hmm.
month and even this month till now has been a little hectic, but I think nothing much to complain because I have
Right.
decent work with me.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
at the same time, uh, I think I struggle with maintaining a balance, though I have a
Hmm.
very structured day with me, but or to have days where I don't want to work or don't wish to
Right. Okay.
work, I struggle
Hmm.
with that particular part as of now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is there. Plus, what keeps me excited is like different writing formats. So Anuj,
Hmm.
one of the things which I do is like I write on behalf of people. That is
Uh-huh.
ghostwriting.
Hmm.
I also
Hmm.
for a lead as a lead gen mechanism to build some audience. I also write on
Right.
LinkedIn. That's
Hmm.
5 days a week for me.
Hmm.
So to
Hmm.
write for myself, it's a good change. Then I have a weekly
Right.
newsletter which I was mentioning about right earlier.
Okay.
So so if I'm just working for clients, it can get a little
Hmm.
strenuous,
Hmm.
though the insights are new, but it can get
Hmm.
very monotonous. But
Right.
if I'm
Hmm.
writing on the same format for myself, it is a decent change, but I enjoy
Ah.
writing stories the most. So every
Okay.
Sunday, which I get the newsletter out, that is a good change for me. At the
Okay.
same time, I have a writer group of my own. I have some writer friends
Hmm.
because when I started out writing, I knew that if I'm thinking of just get because there's also a reality, right, Anuj? I'm
Hmm.
32
Hmm.
right now. If
Right.
I
Right.
was
Right.
22, I could have taken some time just to go
Hmm.
with the flow. But
Hmm.
because I'm 32 right now, I
Hmm.
would also not to make too many mistakes,
Too many.
or I would
Hmm.
like to at least have some. I would like to have some outcomes without making much mistakes. So because
True.
of that, I even got a writing mentor with me when I was just starting out. That lady
Hmm.
was very kind enough. She gave us many insights. Even now,
Okay.
she gives me feedback at times. So
Hmm.
again, great in great terms with her. Then
Okay.
I had another individual who taught me how to generate leads. It was a
Okay.
pilot batch of hers, and we had a 1 month session wherein I had many individuals along with me. So that really helped me on a business side.
Hmm.
But so again, even after the course ends after the education, this education part
Hmm.
ends, I like to be in cordial terms with them, and because I have been in the stand-up space, so there is a
Hmm.
fun or a jokey sort of element which I generally
Hmm.
give people out. So even
Hmm.
in sessions, I would be there.
Hmm.
I would ensure that I make some jokes. I try to make people comfortable. So
Hmm.
that ensure there is a good vibe. And when you're doing this, also people end up doing things for you. Also, I also ensure that I am being a decent peer or a decent friend to them. If I have some
Hmm.
insights, I'm not actually like guarding them. Some people are like this, ki
Hmm.
yaar, this insight took me 6 months. How can I just give it for free?
Hmm.
But what people don't realize is giving an insight to someone doesn't,
Right.
and them to actually uh, use that insight, it's two different things. So education is free. I can always go on YouTube, go to AI and
Hmm.
get some insights for me. But will I be implementing that? So I
Hmm.
feel giving insights and just being a good friend or a good person to other person and being just helpful, that generally gives you like decent goodwill and karma, and
Right.
things
Okay.
happen. So I've also made good friends with many people like those. So many people say that writing is a very lonely journey, but I have decent friends, Anuj,
Hmm.
and many. So I think that is something which keeps my spirits high. There are days when I'm not feeling great uh,
Okay.
uh, because I've been just writing. I
Hmm.
am a fitness enthusiast. I go to the gym,
Okay.
I do yoga, I
Hmm.
run. So that is something is a good outlet. So things like these
Hmm.
generally help.
Hmm.
And so I think writing though is a can be a learning journey, but it doesn't need to be. So just
Right.
having some
Hmm.
friends, just having a peer group,
Hmm.
that helps. So yes, Anuj, like this generally helps me.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the insights. So, and now I would like to close but before that, I would like to ask you a question that maybe if you could share some advice that you would like to give to someone who is aspiring to become a content writer, or maybe a ghostwriter, like you have taken up
Hmm.
ghostwriting. So is there any advice that you would like to give? Can you share some tips for people who want to who even want to improve their writing skills? Yeah.
Hmm. Of course, of course. More than Will be more than happy to do this. So, Anuj, a couple of things I would say. Firstly, a person needs to internalize what does what comes naturally to them. Does writing, fiction comes naturally to them? Does writing certain blogs come naturally to them? What comes naturally to them, and what do they
Right.
enjoy doing, and being very consistent with that. So I think that is the first step. Second step would be to write consistently on a platform. I started by writing on LinkedIn, though before this, I was in comedy where I used to write. Growing up, I used to say during the time of, when people, I think you might be remembering that time when there were top-up cards, and which we used to scratch, and then we used to send out text messages, some 100 messages for 20 rupees or something. So during that time also, I had like good fun with sending people messages, long messages. I have dated ample, so I have done that aspect as
Yeah.
well, love letters and all of those things. So just also understanding that, are you firstly having fun? Secondly, being very consistent, you know. Thirdly, and with a platform, some people write very well on LinkedIn. Some people enjoy
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Some people enjoy Medium. Some people enjoy writing newsletters. Like before I started writing newsletters, I thought it will be very painful. And I used to love reading newsletters, which gave insights. And then I just felt that I have insights, but I would like to keep them in a story-based format. So I started writing it in a story-based format. So
Okay.
I have had like decent response to it. So understanding and also experimenting with different writing format. That if individual is writing regularly in LinkedIn, they're getting decent traction, but you cannot be just comfortable there sitting that, hey
Right.
man, I'm doing good on LinkedIn. Why should I experiment? Because the same things holds with companies as well. If you're not experimenting, you will die.
You will
This
die.
happens with you. If you look at Zomato, for example, when they launched, they were just a company which scanned menus and put it up online. But now, if you look at it almost a decade and a half later, they are a different company altogether. As professionals, as freelancers, as ghostwriters, or as writing professionals or creative people, we have to experimenting. We have to identify one particular place through which we are enjoying, and I would like to push some emphasize on this thing, that try to ensure, if you're writing, that how you can make money through it. Like you can write some blogs for some people. You also have to ensure that if you wish to earn from writing, your reach outs have to be very regular. You have to network, and network not to sell, but network after researching about the profile. And you can just think of just being friends with that person. You don't need to show up as a salesman on one particular person's door. You can be, but if you are a friend to one person and then you come up to their door and then tell them that, hey, I do something which will help you. Would you like to try this? Chances of selling that increases. Creative people struggle with this a lot, and I have done that myself as well. Uh, Limiting, not thinking about the business case of any creative field. People don't do reach outs. People don't like doing reach outs. And that is something I feel that needs to be done first thing in the day when you have like decent energy, because if you're not doing that, you are
Right.
there are chances you won't be able to make money
True.
from it, or it you'll be taking too much time, because this is something I also did in the initial part.
Right.
So this is also something being aware that if you're writing just for this, you are writing just for pleasure, you don't have any monetary expectations. It is completely okay just to explore, just to experiment, just being casual with it and just being candid. But if you have a business use case in mind, be very aligned that while you should have fun with it, you should also be making money for with it. Thus, you need to reach out. So this is something which I would suggest to any individual, but also like learn from individual people who have been
Right.
in this say in the same journey of yours for like 2 years now, 3 years now, 6 months now, a year from now. Learn from them. You need to chat with people, understand, because everyone has something to say. Understand uh, what this person is doing right, or also noticing if the person is putting out posts, what they are doing right, what they are doing wrong. And I might have 10 wrong things to wrong advices to give to someone, but if an individual is coming and chatting with me and able to pick up one good advice and able to inculcate in their particular writing style or in their business, I think it's a major win for them. So I think even networking should be looked like that what sort of insights you're able to pick up. And I think every creative person has their own journey. Like what worked with me was I have worked with startups, so I know the language which founders and investors talk. What are the metrics they wish to chase? And there have been times where I have been in calls. We might have not ended up working together because we did not align on certain things. But there are cases wherein in the first call itself, they were excitedly telling me about their journey. I was telling about them. They were putting their problem. We're not talking about what I am to do for them. We did talk about this, but then the major part of the call was around what uh, how they can do, what they can add in their service, or what they can. So I think that this is something like, and I have fun working with founders and investors. That is what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But if an individual likes writing about wellness, they can write wellness blogs and they can target West. And the final advice which I would like to give is, though uh, the because of the foreign exchange currency rates, anyone who is starting out, it's okay to have and I'm nothing wrong against Indian founders or investors, but if you are starting out, I would say work with domestic clients, but in the long run, have Indian clients who are great to work with, who are paying you decently, and from whom you're learning, but at the same time, focus on the West, because because the foreign exchange is such that you will be able to make a lot
Right.
from that particular avenue rather than India. So from a business perspective, I will say, but I would also say this thing that work with people from which you are able to learn regularly.
Learn.
Learn.
Right.
If, and again, your initial projects don't need to be about making money. They can just being about what are you able to learn from them. Do they
Right.
have? I've worked with a design founder. They're almost a year now. Like I can share the quick story. I won't name them, but the first project they did, they for the first 2 months they were working on the MVP for free. After that, they have landed many referrals from that particular client. They have got a high ticket size project for them. So this is also the power of free work, and also they are with the client now, and they have been since then because they're also learning from that client about the domain. So initially, I think don't work for money, but also to get some skills or have at least a barter of a transaction. So yes, Anuj, like these will be my advices.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much Ananya, for these tips. I think it will be really helpful for my listeners who want to get started into being a content writer, or maybe ghost writing. I think they would really love this. And obviously, thank you so much for taking time out during this weekend to from your busy schedule and talk to me to have a conversation with me about ghostwriting. Basically, it was lovely talking to you. I mean, indeed, it was. I really enjoyed it, and I hope my listeners will also enjoy and have some kind of learning from this conversation. Thank you once again for coming to this episode.
Thank you so much, Anuj. Thank you so much for reaching out. I really loved chatting with you, sharing insights, and it was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Have a good day.
thank you, Nanya. Have a good day. You too. Yeah, bye bye. Well, friends, with that, we come to an end of this episode of the Mindful Conversation series in my podcast, The Anuj Kapoor Talk Show. If you haven't done already, make sure to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music so you never miss any episode. You can also follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for more updates. Also, a big thanks to Ananya for joining us today. Be sure to check his profile on LinkedIn if you want to know more about him or contact him. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back soon with more inspiring conversations. Until then, stay curious, keep learning, and take care of yourself.